Hi, I'm Oscar Patron. I'm from the Y-axis, and today we're talking about history, and it's a very serious topic, which is about one of the dictators from the 20th century, Adolf Hitler. Most of you would think that Hitler was from Germany, but in fact he was from Austria-Hungary, and his mother was Karla Pols, and his father was Alois Hitler. He was an Austrian official, and he wanted his son to be the same as him. He didn't had a very good relationship with his father, and he died in 1903. 2 years later, his mother allowed him to drop out of school, and unfortunately, on 1907, his mother also died, and due to this, he moved to Vienna, where he tried to apply twice to the Academy of Fine Arts, from which he was denied the entrance twice. During the time that he was staying in Vienna, he practically lived like a homeless, and that's why on the 1913, he tried to apply to the army, but he was rejected. And on 1914, when the World War started, since he was rejected from his own country, he applied to the German army. Almost ending the war, he was injured and sent back to Germany. And later, when he discovered that Germany had lost, he got very furious and blamed it on politicians and also on Jews. With the Treaty of Versailles, Germany and Hitler was feeling even more disappointed. And well, now talking about ideologies. Oh, my pencil.
So, sorry about that. So, this guy was an extremely nationalist person. He thought that the country was the most important part of his politics. So at first he joined a local party called the German Workers' Party. But he got a hold of it, and by 1921 he was already in power. After Hitler took control of the German Workers' Party in 1921 and turned it into a Nazi party, he thought at the time that it was time to turn Germany into his turf, into his new government. So he organized a coup in 1923, but it failed, and he was sent to prison, in which only he lasted 1 year. During that time he wrote Mein Kampf, a book in which he expressed all the ideologies that he had, including his desire to make the German army great again with militarism, and also after he was liberated from prison, he started raising his power, but politically, not with violence. And in 1933 he was named Chancellor of Germany. A year after that, when the president Hindenburg died, he named himself Führer, which means leader of the whole German army. And now he could implement all his ideas, like all the public works he wanted to create in order to prevent all the crisis and unemployment that was going on, and the increase of German army. So his militarism was taken into account for this, and also for all this crisis. He thought that it was the Jews and the communists' fault, but at the start there were some people that tried to stop him. But now that he was in power, there was no one who could do that. So then he turned on Poland in 1939. He declared war, and so World War II started. At first he was very successful, but he tried to invade the USSR in winter, which was a very bad mistake actually. And so the Allies turned against him, and finally he was defeated in 1945 in Berlin. But before that, he married his lover, who was named Eva Braun, on the 29th of April, and the next day, the 30th of April of 1945, he killed himself with a gunshot. He was the cause for the Nazi surrender. Well, they were going to lose anyway, but a week after he killed himself, the Allies advanced finally to Berlin and took it, and so the war ended, and so did his life. What Hitler did was extremely horrible, because with his focus on blaming everything that Germany had undergone during all the crisis in the Treaty of Versailles on the Jews and on the communists, he decided that it was his mission to apply a final solution to this Jew problem. So he decided to send them to concentration camps. No, first to segregate them and then to send them to concentration camps where they would be either starved to death, be killed by sicknesses, or in most cases executed by gas or by gunshot or by every method imaginable. Some of these people weren't actually Jews. There was also black people, there were homosexuals, there were political enemies, and there were many more members of the opposition to the Nazi government. But in total, all the people who died from this were 6 million Jews, and all in all, including all the war victims, there were 11 million victims of this. This event was called the Holocaust, and it reminds us that we must always respect the human rights, because in this case, the Nazi regime broke almost every human right possible. For example, Article 1 that says, well, we are all free and we should have all these rights, and basically Article 30 that no one can take these rights. They also violated no torture, no killing, no equality, which is Article 7, and that you can go wherever you want. Also, they violated the liberty of expression, they violated privacy, and everything. Even for Aryan people, it wasn't the same, because the children were forced to believe in this regime, which was wrong and could not give them the education they deserved. And as you may imagine, this situation was much worse for the minorities like Jews. So, what the nations that beat the Axis powers did after World War II to prevent all of this to happen again was to create the United Nations. The United Nations that was set to promote freedom and equality and all of this, which was focused 3 years after the war in the Declaration of Human Rights we have already seen. But also it had also horrible consequences for Germany, because since all the blame was this time rightly accused on Germany was divided into two sections, so it wouldn't be able to have that much power between the US and the USSR, between Western Germany and Eastern Germany, with the Berlin Wall also. But mostly this was an ideological way to prevent all of this to happen, because since Hitler took influences and was himself a totalitarian dictator like Mussolini, he took all the ideas from Nazism, from his fascism, like the totalitarian regime, and to brainwash the people into thinking that what he was doing was right. What the people from the UN did was to prevent all kind of totalitarian governments, so that no one could do this. So, in a way, what Hitler fought for was ultimately the inverse of what happened. Germany was in crisis again, and there were no totalitarian regimes. Thank you. I hope you have learned something from this little piece of work we have done. That has been all from my part and for my team's part. And see you next time. Goodbye.